Wine is for everybody, not just for snobs. I believe it's the most delicious beverage on the planet. There's so much history that goes into it, not to mention the food friendliness and just the overall pleasure. For me, the purpose of a great wine is to keep the ones that you love at the dinner table just a little bit longer. Conversations just flow differently when people are imbibing on wine versus any other beverage. Here are the tips on getting a great bottle of wine. Number one, you gotta forgive yourself. You don't need to know all about wine. In fact, you don't really need to know all that much. I don't know where the concept came from that people need to know about wine to really enjoy it. I'm with foodies a lot of times. They don't even know the history or what goes into making a great dish. They just like how it tastes and the experiences and the emotions they feel. Wine is the same. There's a study last year that shows that the United States has under 12,000 registered wineries. Now you gotta think about that. I don't know how they classify that, but some of those wineries have sub-brands or they make private labels or specific labels for grocery markets. Plus they make their own portfolio, could be 6 up to 12 wines. On the conservative end, that's 60, 70,000 different types of labels being made every single year. Not to mention all the vintages that are in storage, because in wine, especially in fantastic wine, every year is going to be a little bit different. Then consider this, the US, depending on the source, is the 4th or the 5th largest producer of wine in the world. A lot of people quote that even in Italy, if you were to try a different wine every single day, just strictly sticking to Italy, you wouldn't get through the country in your lifetime. So cut yourself a break. Wine is simple in essence because it's fermented grape juice, but it's also complex. There's a lot of things going on. Nobody knows everything about wine. Even masters of wines, the professional critics that you follow, it's impossible to know everything about the world of wine. Number 2, be wary of recommendations. Everybody's palate's a little bit different. You have to know the source. Me, for instance, I'm not going to take any recommendations on fast food joints because for the most part, I don't eat fast food. Chipotle, does that count even? Not a sponsored video, by the way, but I do love Chipotle. People that get really into wine tend to have different palates than those that are drinking it casually. When you start to get more serious, more geeky like me, for red wines, I usually want juicier, medium-bodied red wines. For whites, I want a ton of acidity. I want a lot of sourness. Also, if you start drinking more and more wines, you want a little bit less fruit. You want some minerals, some leather, some different characteristics. Usually people that just start drinking wine, they want something that's fruity, delicious, easy to drink, even stuff with a touch of residual sugar. So you have to be wary of where you're getting your recommendations from. I see a lot of people that they don't know about wine, they're intimidating. They ask a friend or a family that knows a lot about wine and they ask straight up for a recommendation, then get home, bring that bottle home, and it's not that good. Take recommendations from friends, family members that drink in your same level, and then if you want to level up, that's when you start following critics or following YouTube or reading different articles. But you have to know those are a little bit more expensive bottles that you might not appreciate until you work your way up. By the way, if this is your first time on the channel, my name's Matthew. Been in the wine industry just under 10 years. I judge about 6 to 7 international wine competitions every single year. For 7 years, I was traveling around the wine world without a home, learning about the great regions of the world and the people behind the bottles. Number 3, you gotta get out of the supermarkets. I'm gonna say this with a little disclaimer. I'm talking about supermarkets like Kroger, Walmart, Aldi. Of course, you might find a few gems there, but for the most part, these are mass-produced wines, usually made by only a few companies making different labels. These are not exciting wines. Once you get out of the supermarket, maybe go to a nicer supermarket. That was the caveat, something like Whole Foods. There's a local place around here in the Midwest called Plum Market. I know around the New York area, you have Wegmans, which can be fantastic. So in those nicer supermarkets, they usually hire specific wine people. They usually carry better wines, but I would recommend going to a specialty wine shop. A lot of times these are family-owned. The people are super passionate. And a lot of times these bottle shops don't carry the most expensive wines in the world. You can start drinking really, really good wine at $15. I personally think the $25 to $30 up to the $50 mark, you can drink some of the greatest wines in the world if you know what you're looking for. But if you don't know what you're looking for, go into that wine shop, ask the owner, ask people that work there. They're passionate. They're going to try to direct you to the best wine possible because they want your business. They want you to come back. That's one of the hottest tips I can tell you about getting a great bottle of wine. Number Number 4, when you're at the restaurant, ask a sommelier. When you look at the menu, even for me, a wine geek that's been doing this for under 10 years, I taste thousands of wines annually, wine lists at restaurants can be pretty intimidating because there's nothing that shows you about the style of wine or if you're going to like it or not. It's just usually the producer, the grape, the region, the country, and the price. Ask the sommelier staff. Tell them what you're eating and then just tell them a price point. You don't have to be embarrassed. At nicer restaurants, they offer tasting menus. Therefore, you'll have several different types of wines to go with your dishes, although I'm not the biggest fan of tasting menus because I like to order my own bottle. I think that's a recommendation for people that begin. Also, restaurants, wine bars, even casual restaurants are opening up their by the glass list, so you don't have to commit to a specific wine. You can just try a few wines, see what you like. The key here is just dropping your ego. You don't have to look good. Ask the sommelier, ask the shop owner. They're going to direct you to a good bottle. Number 5 is go to tastings. I know a couple local shops in the area do tastings every single week. Sometimes there's big events, like I'm going to the Wine Spectator Experience in New York City in October. Granted, that's a higher ticket place, but there you get to try a lot of different wines. You get to talk to producers or people that are working with the wines and talk to fellow wine lovers. Therefore, you get a sense of what you like. I have to say though, when you go to these tastings, when you're just in the trying phase, you have to learn how to spit. Don't swallow the wine, you'll get pretty tipsy pretty quickly, unless that's your purpose. Then it's all good. I'm not judging. But if you were there to start to learn what you like, you want to taste as many wines as possible, so you're going to have to spit. Granted, you do absorb a little bit of alcohol. I do a lot of tastings and wine competitions. For about 25 to 30 glasses that you taste and spit out, you're absorbing about 1 glass of wine. So yes, you do take in some alcohol. It's important to eat a snack while you're doing the tasting. From that point, you'll get to number 6 is learning what you like. You have to be confident in your own palate. Myself, I'm a wine professional, wine expert, but I'm not an expert in your palate. I stole that from Andre Mack, by the way. You learn what you like. Some of you might have a preference for Mexican food, some Italian food, some Asian food. You have to learn what you like and be confident in that. Not just quote a wine because it got a big time score. Again, critics, wine professionals are looking for things a lot differently when they're scoring wines, critiquing wines versus most people that are casually drinking wines. Just start to learn what you like, be confident in it, and it's okay. And you don't need to be embarrassed. This takes time. I know myself professionally, I was in the industry for a long time, probably 6-7 years before I became fully confident in my own palate. In the past, when I judging wines and somebody would score it high, but I would score it low, I'd think, you know, what's wrong with me? Is my palate not refined enough? Am I not understanding this enough? Then as I started to taste more and more, I became confident. This is what I like. This is what I'm looking for. Just know your own taste. I did a tasting a couple weeks ago for a group of lawyers, judges. I did a blind tasting, a little game for them, where we tasted an expensive Sauvignon Blanc next to a Trader Joe's 2-buck chuck Sauvignon Blanc. A lot of people prefer the 2-buck chuck, and I said, it's okay. Be confident what you like, but here's the thing. It's okay to like what you like, but I would suggest to taste more and expand your palate because it expands your mind, and you might taste something brand new. You might get a new flavor that you never expected. I love giving wines to people and seeing their eyes go bing, 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 bing for the first time. Where I am right now, I want to drink mostly white wines. I love Riesling. I want to drink champagne, and I want to drink medium-bodied, juicy, fruity, red fruit-driven red wines. That's why I love Italian wines. I love a lot of the varieties because they give me a lot of sour cherry flavors. These last two, we're starting to get a little more advanced as you become more confident in your own palate. Number 7 is check the importer. When you go to nicer wine shops, you start buying wines that are more than 15, more than 20, up into the $30 range. On the back, you'll see who are importing those wines. Those importers are like the real influencers. They're the gatekeepers. They're bringing in or distributing wines that they like themselves and they think that other people should enjoy as well. So if you like a wine, look at the importer, say, go to their website. Let me look at what other brands that they import. Maybe I'll like those wines too. Some of my favorite importers that are well known by wine geeks in the USA, people like David Bowler, Skurnik, Rosenthal, and Winebow. David Bowler and Rosenthal are usually bringing in smaller producers, more artisanal wines with character. Winebow has a huge portfolio of all different countries, and they bring in some great stuff. Skurnik, for me, is awesome. They're the best Riesling importers in the USA. I remember when I was living in Germany for 2 months visiting Riesling producers, learning about the grape every single day. And it was funny because I was 2 hours behind the Skurnik group. Every visit, they're like, oh, you just missed other Americans from Skurnik. The last tip, we're going to get even more geeky, is if you find a grape type or a region that you like, stick to that region, buy different wines from that region from different producers over the course of a few months. You'll really get a grasp. A way to hack this is get a group together that enjoys wine, anywhere from 4 to 10 people. You have a night every single week, every single month. Everybody buys a bottle at a certain budget, all from the same region. You get together, then you can taste 10 different types of wines. You can leverage each other so you don't have to buy every single bottle yourself. And a lot of exams like the Quartermaster Sommeliers, W said that's what happens. A lot of people get together in these little tasting groups, so they each buy a bunch of bottles and then they can go in, share the costs, and learn as quickly as possible. Lastly, you just want to have fun with it. Again, I think wine is the most delicious, intriguing beverage on the planet. It can be taken seriously, but really, it's a beverage of pleasure. So enjoy it, share it with your friends and family, and let the conversations flow.